Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Black Girl Ambition with me, Naya Baxter. This is still your go-to space for community empowerment and practical tips to help you level up in your career and in all aspects of your life. Here, we have real conversations about navigating corporate careers, about entrepreneurship, wellness, and Black womanhood. I like to describe this platform as equal parts executive level coffee chat meets sister circle meets motivational masterclass. Black Girl Ambition is not just a podcast, it is a movement. So subscribe to the bi-weekly podcast dropping on Wednesdays. And please rate, review, subscribe, and also share with a friend if you have not already. Well, Happy New Year. Happy 2026. This is my very first episode of 2026 and I've missed you. I've missed you. How did you all welcome the new year? What did you do? Are any of you resolution people? Like setting resolutions. I don't necessarily make New Year's resolutions. I set intentions, but I seek to use those intentions to carry me throughout the year and to come back to them to ground me throughout the year. My intentions for this year are presence, to be present. I often find myself as an ambitious woman who does a lot, who has aspirations to do a lot. I find myself multitasking so often. And my intention is to be present wherever I am, to be where I am in mind and in body. Another one of my intentions is moving with flow, not force. Be less force, more flow, more attraction of abundance and the life that I want. Now, mind you, look, we got to put the work in. I think that manifestation is a thing. It exists for sure, but we also have to put the work in. And so I am talking about meeting the two in terms of the manifestation, but also putting in the work and, meeting somewhere in the middle with more flow in my life and less force. I am also setting an intention to use no a whole lot more so that I can really say yes to the things that I truly want to do and passionate about and believe in. And just remembering overall that the universe is conspiring in my favor. The universe is conspiring in my favor. The universe is conspiring in your favor for your highest good. And I try to remember that and come back to that often. So if you have been following me on socials for the last couple weeks, my Black Girl Ambition account has looked a little different. I have been living my best life. I was in Ghana at the end of December into early January, and I was there for Detty December. I went with my husband. Look, we were living our best lives. I have always enjoyed fashion. And it's something I've always been passionate about, but I've also used it as a form of self-expression and creativity. And so I used the time when I was in Ghana to spotlight Black fashion designers and many of the outfits that I wore during Detty December in Ghana. I also released when I was there a 6-minute Q&A with my husband. So go and listen to that if you have not already. We recorded that while we were sitting next to the pool in Ghana. So that's a little bit different, but you get to see and hear from Mr. Black Girl Ambition. That's what I'm calling him, Mr. Black Girl Ambition. So today, this will be another solo episode. It's really me reflecting on my time spent in Ghana. Again, this was my second time going, but my fourth time on the continent, actually. But Ghana is my only time spent in West Africa. And West Africa just hits different. It just hits different. Other than that, I've been in North Africa and Morocco. I have also traveled to South Africa, but West Africa it just hits different than the other two. I have said that for those who know me, I have said to them and described my experience in Ghana as spiritual, as changing me on a molecular level, a cellular level is how I have described it. I am not the same. I am not the same Naya Baxter from the time that I first set foot on African soil, West African soil, in 2023. And actually, my husband confirmed this. He said to me that I haven't been the same since I first visited Ghana 2 years ago. And that is true. I have not. So this episode will get into my experience, my observations, and really a rallying cry to get to the continent if you have not already. I truly want dual citizenship. This is something I'm researching and looking into. I saw actually different country, but Megan Good and Jonathan Majors recently received their dual citizenship from the country of Guinea and are the official cultural ambassadors for the country of Guinea. So I love that. I love seeing that Black American and West African diasporic connection. It's beautiful. The continent of Africa has so much to offer. It has so much to offer you. And I feel like Black Americans, the diaspora, are just so now beginning to get curious and to see the value in having a true and meaningful connection with the continent itself. We are all born of the same people, and really, it's white supremacy that keeps us divided. A manipulative education system with an agenda keeps us ignorant about our own history, keeps us distrustful and infighting with each other when we really need to be uniting to dismantle this whole corrupt ass system. This is why you will never catch me engaging in diaspora wars ever. And it breaks my heart every single time I see it. What is the point? I hear, for example, Nigerians like Burna Boy claiming that Black Americans have no culture. Or Black Americans, I've heard calling for, let's say, Haitians to be deported. Like, it's wild. And it's a complete and total waste of time and energy. I can't remember who said this, but I do remember someone saying that we're fighting each other, but we're all speaking English. And I think that perfectly illustrates the point of who and where we should really be focused. There's just so much opportunity in Africa, and the continent is ripe for attention and ripe for investment. Even after decades and decades of exploitation, it remains the most resource-rich continent on the planet, with the highest amount of minerals like cobalt and platinum, diamonds, gold, chromium, and these are vital for technology. They fuel the jewelry industry, even EV batteries, and the continent boasts reserves of gold and natural gas and copper and manganese and so much fertile land. And it makes me so angry because the fact that Africa as a whole is not a politically and economically thriving, stable global superpower is completely intentional. Its destabilization is intentional. Scarcity and conflict are manufactured. Those are absolutely intentional. And it's also the powers that be can continue to profit from the continent and exploit it for all that it's worth. Full stop. So, you disagree, pick up a banned book and go argue with your mama. I don't know what to tell you. A few months ago, I interviewed a woman. If you all have not listened to this episode, you should definitely go back and listen to it. It was with Mariama Jallo of FinTech with MJ, and she shared some incredible stats. Africa is the youngest continent on the planet. The median age is just 19 years. And I could even see that in being in Ghana. It's a very, very young and youthful population. The continent is also seeing an AI and a tech boom with giants like Meta and Google and Microsoft and Uber making big, big investments in the continent, in fintech and in edutech and in agritech and in health tech, renewable energy, e-commerce. And according to The Economist, corporate investment in African startups reached a 3-year high in 2025. And African startups are raising money at unprecedented amounts. I actually learned that Africa is the only continent that has not seen a slowdown in venture capital investment. Companies see it. These conglomerates, these corporations, they see the potential and the opportunity. They see how ripe the continent is. And I want us to see it too. I want us to capitalize on it too. And not just in the sense of money, but in the sense of reclaiming a cultural connection and investing in the continent and its people for the right reasons. But all of that is really a bit of a tangent because you all know that my social justice spirit just won't quit. It just won't stop. I'm actually going to use this episode to share my experience attending Detty December in Ghana with my husband and my boo thing, Bozoma St. John. I thought I would use this episode to walk you all through my experience in Ghana and attending Detty December. It will paint a much different picture of Africa than the one that we've seen, the one that many of us maybe saw on TV growing up, of lack and of scarcity and conflict and poverty. There is opportunity, there's wealth, there is luxury, there is abundance. You will be welcomed. You will be welcomed with open arms on the continent, Akwaba, which means welcome in Fanti in Ghana. So this big kind of cultural pilgrimage known as Detty December started in 2019. This marked 400 years since the start of the transatlantic slave trade. And actually, fun fact, Bozoma wrote the strategy for the year of return in 2019. It is Ghana's invitation, as I said, to return home, to reconnect with the roots of the continent. Just this December alone, I was looking at some early stats, and there were over 130,000 people that made the trek traveling to Ghana. I have heard some criticism of Detty December itself because it is very crowded and it makes things very expensive for the locals. And while I do understand that, I also, having been there and experienced it, see that it is an inconvenience for a short period of time, perhaps for a week, but it's also such a big driver for the economy. Everybody is eating. Everybody is eating. You have in the local economy, drivers, you have hairstylists, you have makeup artists, you have restaurants, you have so much attention and presence and people who are looking to enjoy their time there, and they're spending their hard-earned money while they're there, which is fueling the local economy as well. So I do understand the criticism, but at the same time, like, can we have nice things? In terms of my experience in going, I have two young kids. I have a daughter who was 11, a son who was 8. I'm not even going to hold you. Leaving them was incredibly difficult. It was very, very hard. It's also during the holidays, which is just a difficult time to leave. So that was not pleasant. We were here for Christmas and we were here for the day after Christmas. We departed on the 27th. We left on a direct flight in the evening from DC to Accra. It was about 9.5 hours and we arrived in the morning of December 28th in Accra around 10 a.m. There is a 5-hour time difference. So it takes 9.5 hours to get there, about 11 hours to get back flying, and then there is a 5-hour time difference. They are 5 hours ahead. We arrived in the morning, stepped outside of the airport, and the weather is hot. But it's actually Ghana's winter, so it's not that hot. It's about 80, 85 degrees. It's a little muggy. It's crowded outside of the airport. There are many people who are driving taxis who are approaching you, trying to give you a ride. And it is slightly chaotic, not overwhelmingly chaotic, but slightly chaotic. We were picked up by our driver, Isaac, who I coordinated with and secured beforehand. If you are going to Ghana, be sure to book a driver well in advance. We paid our driver about $80 per day for 10 hours a day. Now, local economy wise, that's a lot to pay. But again, to my point earlier, we are driving the local economy. So we paid Isaac $80 a day for 10 hours of his time. Plus, if we were going beyond that 10 hours, we paid overtime, which was the equivalent of about $15 an hour. They use the city, which is the local currency, and the city is about a conversion of 10 or 11 to 1 US dollar. So Isaac picked us up. What I love about the Ghanaian drivers too is when you're with them, you don't have to carry anything. They will take all of your stuff. Isaac takes our luggage and loads it into the car, and we're driving through the streets, and the feeling of being on the continent and you just landed. You have the whole week ahead of you, and it just feels electric. You get out of the plane and you're in Accra, and it's an entirely different scene. It's a different country. People are speaking Fanti in addition to English. There are women who are carrying goods on their heads and trying to sell merchandise at stoplights, and there are palm trees, and it feels electric to be there. So my husband and I were operating on no sleep because we didn't get very much sleep on the plane, but still we're just running on adrenaline. Isaac drove us to the beautiful Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel where we stayed for the week. It's a beautiful, luxurious hotel. There are guards at the gate at the front of the hotel. You enter and there is a beautiful, spacious lobby. There is a bar. There is a pool. It's just top notch. I do like the hotel. No, the rooms themselves are nice. I wouldn't describe them as overly luxurious, but they're very nice. And we had a good stay there. Airbnbs are another great option for you. But if you're traveling solo, I do recommend staying at a hotel. And personally, I have stayed at the Kempinski and I have stayed at number 1 Oxford. So I would recommend either one of those. So we arrive at the hotel. We get a welcome drink from the woman checking us in. Our hotel is overlooking the pool. How did I not get in the water the entire time I was there? We were so busy. Trust me, I wanted to go to the pool. I brought my bathing suit, but never actually made it into the water while I was in Ghana because we were just so busy the entire time. But we check into our hotel. We both lie down and take a quick nap. I think it was about an hour for me because then my hairstylist arrived. Something that I love about Ghana is that everything comes to you. Literally everything comes to you. You don't have to leave to go get the service. The service will come to you. And when I say I can get used to that, a girl can get used to that. In fact, I think I already have. I'm going through withdrawals. So my hairstylist came to the hotel, styled my hair. You can also get makeup artists come to your hotel or wherever you're staying. I had a makeup artist who came and serviced me, a nail tech as well. So during the trip, I wasn't feeling that great for a period of it. My son was sick and I caught whatever he had. So when I arrived, I was feeling a little bit under the weather. I had an IV hydration vitamin drip in my hotel room. They came and administered a vitamin drip and it had all the good stuff. It had zinc, vitamin C, and magnesium, and I felt great after. Anyway, all that to say, you can have everything in your room in Ghana, and I love that. So I came with my hair braided down and I had a wig installed. For this trip, I wore Eve by Bose Lael's curly ringlets in 26 inches. I usually go braids when I'm on vacation, but for this, I just felt like I wanted to switch it up and do something different. And let me tell you, the look was tea. This is still the hair. So in getting dressed for the evening, I wore Kai Collective, one of the hottest Black-owned brands right now. Love. UK-based, Black woman-owned. Love. I wore a red suede diamond cut midi skirt. There was a white tee with red and yellow detailing. I wore gold heels and then a purse with a huge cowrie shell on the front. It's just this dramatic gold cowrie shell on the front by Flore K. New York. And we left and we attended a welcome dinner at Bose's home in Ghana, which is, as you can imagine, it's huge, it's gorgeous, it is perfectly appointed, it's decorated so intentionally beautiful. At this dinner, where her mother and her aunts and her daughter and her fiance and my husband and I, of course, and then about 20 other people who were a part of the Black Stars group. How special is that? She refers to us as the Black Stars. You are a Black Star. It's really like an affirmation of who you are. We are Black stars. We are freedom incarnate. After dinner, we attended night one of the Afrofuture Festival, which is an outdoor music festival with live performances. There's food, there's drinks, there's just energy. We're outside, we're dancing, you're under the Ghanaian moon. It's hot, you're sweating, and it is like a spiritual experience. I remember going and having my first experience at Afrofuture, and I'm like, saying to myself, I am looking up at the Ghanaian moon and eating jollof rice in Ghana. And then seeing my husband have a similar experience, it was so touching and it meant so much. Ashake was the headliner for the first night, and he gets on stage, and to set the scene, there's fire coming up on the side of the stage, and there are drones that are flying around that are getting all of these different angles and views of the crowd and the performances. And people are just dancing and singing and having the best time. My husband and I left early. And by early, I mean 3 a.m. Because at this point, it's like, what time is it? You have to remember we got off the plane where we really didn't sleep, and then went to dinner, and then had a full night at the Afrofuture Festival, and then left at like 3. It might have even been 4 a.m. I don't even know at this point what day it is. Like, time is a construct. It is all run together. I don't know. We left and went back to the hotel so we could rest up and be ready for the next day. Day 2, we attended Bella Afrique for dinner. Bella Afrique is this beautiful art club. We walk in, it's indoor-outdoor architecture, which is something that is common for almost all of the restaurants and venues in Ghana because of the climate. So we walk in, and there's the beach and the water are right there. And there is a huge table, a very long table, and it's decorated with lights, these white lights. It has this very ethereal, like sexy vibe, and we have a beautiful dinner together. After dinner at Bella Afrique, we went to Afrofuture night 2, where Rima was the headliner. And then after Afrofuture, we went to Frontback. I'm pretty sure that was the order of things. And Frontback was another venue that was outdoor, more dancing. For this event, I wore a ruffle mini dress from Killentar, which is a brand I just love. The dress I wore uses this traditional shibori dyeing technique, and I was reading that it takes 14 hours to complete one dress. And because of the threading technique, each dress is unique. It was dark blue, and it had this corseted bodice. I felt beautiful in it, and I can't wait to wear it again. We definitely met the sun and probably went to sleep at 7 a.m. that night, or rather, that morning. Now we're at day 3, which, if the days are running together to you, imagine experiencing it and how they were running together for us. During the day, we rested, connected with some other members of the group. And then in the evening, we went to Sky Bar. Sky Bar offers these breathtaking views of the city of Accra. It's 25 floors up. I think it's apartments in the building. And then at the very top, there is this rooftop bar. So 25 floors up, and you're overlooking the city. And if you're going to Accra, I would highly recommend checking out Sky Bar. It is a very unique place. So it's not on the beach. you're obviously high up and you're overlooking the city, and the whole thing is a vibe. It's very sexy. It's very cosmopolitan. After that, we went to an outdoor music festival. I want to say Promised Land, but we were at an outdoor music festival. And then after the outdoor music festival, we went to the Silver Fox Strip Club and had so much fun. That, as you can imagine, was an experience. Yes, I did receive a lap dance. The women were also very fun and very nice. I asked my husband, how did you feel about having a strip club experience with your wife in Ghana? And he turned to me and said, I only love my wife. For that night, I actually wore a black lace corset and black lace pants. So we had a black lace look, which I feel like was appropriate for the night. And then I wore a koi necklace and ring. They were both gold. Now, night 4, the next night, was New Year's Eve. The time is moving so quickly, but it's New Year's Eve now. And our small Black Stars group of 20, 25 people has now expanded to 125 for a black gold extravaganza. I have to set the scene for you again, which I am attempting to do with words. And I hope that these words are doing it just a little bit of justice. We are being hosted by Bose at the Aburi Botanical Gardens. One thing that I love about her is that she is extremely intentional about the meaning and connections behind everything that she does. So she decided to host the Black Gold Dinner in the Aburi Botanical Gardens, which were in line with the night's theme of Garden of Eve, recognizing that Africa is the cradle of life and life first came from a Black woman. Can we just get a look? Can we just get a round of applause? Like, what? I mean, lost for words. I am at a loss for words, but I loved the intentionality of the theme. So to set the scene, Aburi Botanical Gardens is in the mountains. It is not in the city proper of Accra. It is in the mountains. And so we take charter buses up the mountains to Aburi Botanical Gardens, which does not typically host events like this, a place that you go to sightsee. It is a place where you go to view nature. It is not typically a place where you go and host 125 people for a Black Gold dinner extravaganza that is going to be broadcast live on television, which all of those things happen. So the logistical feat and coordination around this were immense. And we get there to Black Gold, our bus parks, and the entrance is lit up. You walk through a tunnel, and at the front of the tunnel, it says Black Gold in gold letters, and you're walking through, and there are red carpets that are laid out throughout this botanical garden. So you're walking on red carpet in this garden, and it's lit up. There is live music, there are dancers, there is a bar, there is actually a setup which was so unique. The Tree of Life is in the Aburi National Gardens, and Bose put flowers around the Tree of Life and set up kind of a step and repeat so that people could go and take pictures in front of it. And the bark of the Tree of Life is engraved with the faces of our ancestors. So everything just has so much cultural meaning and beauty. And after the mingling and the mixing and the dancers, we were led to dinner. We walked along the road to a tent that was set up for us, and we had a beautiful dinner of local cuisine, and we were also entertained by ballet dancers and fire breathers. Bose's mother said just a beautiful prayer for us all walking into 2026. And you just had this feeling of potential, of sacredness. And it's difficult to describe, but it's something that you can really never forget if you've experienced it. Speaking with Bose, she said that she had to bring in to pull this whole thing off, which, as you can imagine, in the mountains, in the garden, is a logistical feat. She had to bring in water tanks up the mountain. She had to bring in restrooms. She had to bring in Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi had to be stable so that we could broadcast, capture this moment and broadcast it live. She even built a kitchen to be able to serve the 125 guest dinner. It's like, I'm gonna make it happen. I stand for the determination, for the decision to do something, and then the outright stubbornness for making it happen. Because we could have been at the Kempinski. We could have just had a dinner there and they would have been able to accommodate us just fine. But there's something in having the vision, being so committed to the vision and seeing that through. And I appreciate that. There was dancing, more Afro beats. Afro beats are always playing. They're always in the background somewhere playing when you're in Ghana. We set the countdown, we welcome the new year, and then we loaded back onto the buses and we went to Bloom Bar. And then at about 5:45, 6 a.m., we loaded back onto the buses and we drove to Sandbox, which is a restaurant and bar on the beach. The sun was on the horizon, but it had not quite risen yet. You know when it's dark, but the light is just there. And we were all standing in the sand barefoot, and we had our dissolvable paper and pens, and we were writing out our thoughts and intentions for ourselves in 2026. And we're standing at the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, the waters that carried our ancestors away where they were stolen. And then now 400 plus years later, we return to reclaim our place, to reclaim our heritage. Do you have chills listening to that? I do. We were writing out our intentions for 2026. And then as the sun was rising, we folded our intentions and then we cast the paper into the water and watched it be carried away. And we were praying and everyone was having their own spiritual moment. So we didn't do a collective prayer in the way that we did at dinner, but we said our own prayers. You would find people standing there and just looking at the ocean, looking at the sky, their hands over their hearts, their hands in prayer, just welcoming the year and thanking God, just thanking God for the moment, for life, for possibility, for carrying us through. And that's how we welcomed the new year. That's the second time that I have welcomed the new year in that way. The first time was in 2023. And so again, it was just really special to see my husband do that. I think we returned to the hotel at about 8 a.m. It was about 8 a.m. The Kempinski has a great breakfast. And so we went and had a very hearty breakfast and went to sleep. We went to sleep at 9 a.m. on New Year's, which is insane. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and then slept for not that long, actually, not long enough, given that we went to sleep at 9 a.m. My husband and I decided to have a quieter day. We were like, we're going to make grown woman and grown man decisions and have a quieter day today. So we set out the dinner and dancing and activities, other festivities of the Black Stars group, and we ended up doing a bit of sightseeing. We went and visited the Kwame Nkrumah Museum and Memorial. Kwame Nkrumah was an incredible man. He was the former prime minister and president of Ghana. He actually was the one who led a pressure campaign against the British government until they relented Ghana its independence in 1957. I think that it is important to say the words, led a pressure campaign until Britain relented and gave Ghana its independence. Because when we share stories of post-colonialism and we'll share so-and-so country received its independence, it makes it seem like it was some benevolent act. Like these colonial powers just decided that colonialism, imperialism were a bad thing and that they were going to go ahead and let the other countries have their freedom. That's not how it happened. That's not how it happened at all. In every single case, the local people and leaders were fighting in an unrelenting way for their own freedom, to be sovereign and autonomous. And that is exactly what happened in Ghana. So in 1957, it became the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to receive its freedom and break free from the chains of colonialism. Kwame Nkrumah believed in education and self-reliance in Africa, industrializing and producing its own resources, not just exporting its resources, but producing and industrializing its own raw resources so that they could be the benefactors of them. He invested in technology and science and railroads and had a very pan-Africanist view where he believed in working hand in hand with other African leaders to lead Africa as a whole into its future. He was not really concerned with aligning with powers, whether they were West or East, or whether they were capitalist or communist. He was concerned with Africa and its future as his primary priority. Ultimately, he ended up being ousted in a coup in 1966, went on to become the co-president of Guinea shortly after in 1966, and then died of illness in Romania in 1972. But the US CIA was behind the coup in 1966 because Kwame Nkrumah couldn't be coerced or bought or manipulated. And then, what happened is what usually happens. All that to say, that's a little bit of background and history for you. We visited the Kwame Nkrumah Museum Memorial, and it reminds me of how important it is for us to know our history, for us to know our leaders, and to understand how they worked together. We're taught history in such a siloed way. Like, you think that, there was Martin Luther King Jr. here, and then, there was Malcolm X over there, and then there was Ben Carver, and there was Harriet Tubman, and you only learn about a couple of them. And you never learn about the way that these leaders and these civil movements learned from each other and worked together. Because if you look at the timeline of these leaders, they existed during the same period, many of them, and were learning from each other and working together. And it's really a call to continue to educate yourself. I will continue to educate myself. I want us to continue to educate ourselves and to pass that education on, because no one is going to teach us our history. Boom. We also visited Freedom Square or Independence Square, which is very close to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial and Museum. And then afterwards, we went for a sushi dinner. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was such good, fresh sushi that we had. And then we, went to the hotel bar and had a drink and then called it an early night. I'm really glad that we spent the day doing some of the sightseeing. So can you believe it? So this is day 6 of our trip. We are at the farewell dinner at Bose's home. We've had a week of connection and partying and seeing the sunrise and getting to know new people. And now we're at the farewell dinner at Bose's home. For this dinner, there was a special guest named Freedom Jacob Caesar, aka Cheddar. He's also known as Cheddar. You can find him on Instagram at, I believe his handle is I Am Freedom. He is one of the richest men in Ghana. His net worth is, I was looking it up, and his net worth was $500 million. But back in 2021, honestly, compound interest is probably like he's a billionaire at this point. He joined us and he spoke to us. I was in conversation with Freedom for about 20 minutes, and he was sharing his vision for Ghana and the continent and empowering Ghana's youth. He ran for president in the last presidential election, didn't win, but will run again. He is a businessman and a real estate mogul, and I was just very impressed by his views. I found them to be very progressive. Like, he is an outright feminist. He said remarks to the entire group, and he started out by saying, if Africa were run by women leaders, Africa would be in a better place. That was the first thing that he said to the group. He said, for far too long, we have given women the wrong roles. We have relegated them to the kitchen, and that is the wrong place for women to be. Freedom had me at hello. I could definitely see why he and Bose are friends and why he admires her so much, because of who she is. And he is a feminist. And I was not expecting that. I didn't know him very well. I had seen him online. He's very He's very exaggerated, ostentatious, very showy. But in speaking with him, what's interesting is that he uses all of those things as a tactic, as marketing is how he describes it. Marketing for attention. Marketing for attention for him, for a cause that he believes in, but using the way that he presents himself as marketing. And as someone who enjoys marketing and understands the power and how you show up and present yourself, I get it. I get it. So we heard from Freedom. After a delicious dinner at Bose's home and hearing from Freedom, we left and we traveled to the Polo Beach Club for our last night of partying. At this point, I have drank so much champagne. Like on multiple occasions, I was thirsty and wanted water and couldn't find it, but there was champagne. That's just funny. Like the irony of that is just funny. So we went to the Polo Beach Club. It was, I can't remember exactly what event it was at the Polo Beach Club, but we're outside. There is a DJ set up, huge DJ stand. There's a dance floor and there's bottle service, and it was like an electric night. And we just had the best time. We left Polo Beach Club at 4 a.m. I want to say it may have been after 4 a.m. It was like 4:30, which was an early night for us. We left and we went back to the hotel for that night, our last night, farewell dinner, going to the Polo Beach Club. I wore this gorgeous Killentar dress. The top is a mermaid print, but it's made out of this very delicate chiffon. And then there are these tassels, these very intricate, bright orange tassels that are connected to the chiffon top. And the tassels sweep the ground. So while you're walking, it's very dramatic. And there's hand beating along the neckline. And it's just a masterpiece. I felt beautiful in that dress. Love that dress. We love a Killentar moment. Next day, day 7. It's our last day in Accra. It's gone so quickly. We were leaving on a flight at about 10:30 in the evening. So we spent the day again going around the city and just seeing some sights, doing some more shopping. We went shopping at an art market, got some souvenirs for our family and friends back home. We went to a market called Makola. Makola is huge. It's like the Target of Accra, but it's an outdoor market and they sell everything. There are vendors selling everything from waist beads to spices to fresh fish to wigs to toilet paper. You could find everything at Makola. It's very crowded, very, very, very crowded. But because it's so crowded, we didn't get very much attention either because people were, they were busying about their own lives and trying to sell their goods and wares. And then Keon wanted some KFC. So we were on a mission for him to get some Ghanaian KFC because we heard from everyone on the trip that Ghanaian KFC hits different. We literally made a special trip to the KFC so that he could get his Ghanaian whatever. I don't eat chicken, so I don't know. What's it, a 3-piece? So he ate that and that was funny. He agrees. It's better. It's better. After that, we met up with Bose and her fiance and some other friends at a bar that these friends own so that we could have another drink and just talk and wish each other well until we see each other again. After that, we pretty much changed at the hotel and then we're off to the airport. We were not able to visit Cape Coast this time. That is still on my list. Cape Coast, aka the Door of No Return. That's the slave castle where Black people were stolen and they were cast into the diaspora 400 plus years ago. And I really want to make it there. I want to have that experience. We were not able to fit it in this trip, but next time. I want to wrap up this episode with a couple pros and cons of my time in Accra and of Detty December. Let's start with the pros. The pros are there is nothing, if I have not made my point so far, there is nothing like being on the motherland. There is an Ndinkra symbol. There are these symbols that are engraved all over the city. They're like these special shapes. I don't know enough about them to really describe all of the history behind them, but there are these shapes that are all over the city and they mean different things. And the people are very culturally connected to them. They're like affirmations. They're like symbols that mean affirmations. And there is one that is it's a bird craning its head back. And it literally means go back and get it. Go back and get what was taken from you. Go back and get it. And there are different Adinkra symbols that mean all sorts of things, like trust in God and many, many others. I am not versed in all of them, but there is nothing like being on the motherland. And so I would implore you to do it or to do it again if you've already done it. It's one that grounds you. It changes you deeply. As I said earlier, on a molecular and cellular level, you will not be the same. I also found it to be very safe. It's very safe. The people are very welcoming, very warm, very kind, very patient. It is very unlike being in America where everyone is angry and impatient. It is like the opposite there. And I truly did enjoy that. It just it felt like home. There is also so much to do. So even if you don't do the nightlife scene, there is a lot to do from a cultural standpoint during the day. There's a lot that you could fit into your agenda. Also, for the nightlife and restaurants, they are really top tier. Accra is very cosmopolitan. Champagne is easier to come by than water. That was my experience. Cons of Detty December. It is very crowded. Remember that 130,000 figure I mentioned earlier on, 130,000 people traveling to Ghana in December alone. I think it might have been during the last week in December alone. It is very crowded, and so there are lines. Now, because of who I went with, we didn't have to wait in any lines, but I do recognize that if you were going not in that context, there will be lines to get in places because it is crowded. So I also suggest going at any other time of the year, and you can still have that experience being in Ghana, doing all of the things that I have described, but without as many people, and also at a lesser price point, because another con is that it is very expensive. It is very expensive. It is tourism season. Everyone knows it, and there's price gouging that happens because of it. I kind of viewed it as pouring into and investing in the local economy. So I was looking at it that way. But, if you want to get good bang for your buck, maybe not the best time to go during the year. Those two are really my only cons. Everything else is a pro. The only cons are crowded and expensive. So is anything else that you go to of note in the US. Like pick a festival that's going to be crowded and expensive too, but not in the motherland. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Black Girl Ambition. I have some exciting news to share with you. One of my goals for Black Girl Ambition is to build community digitally, but it's also to build community in person. And I am planning our very first Black Girl Ambition in-person dinner in New York in early March. And I would love to see and meet some of you. So if you are interested in joining that dinner, it's going to be in early March. If you have some flexibility in your schedule, send me an email. That's Niya, Niya, at blkgirlambition.com. And I would love to hear from you. And if you are able to come to New York, travel to New York, or you already live in New York, let me know. And I will share an invitation with you. Would love to meet you in person. Thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of Black Girl Ambition. This is the space where we dream big, we move boldly, and we build legacy on our own terms. If today's conversation spoke to you, please share it with a friend, leave me a quick review, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay ambitious.
Overzealous when I'm thinking about the cash flow. I never had no handouts, just came natural. I've been testing so much, all these wrestlers nice.